Okay, picture this. You're scrolling through your Instagram feed, right? And maybe you're like dodging the latest influencer drama or whatever.
Tell me about it.
And then, bam, you stumble upon like this deep conversation
Yeah.
that has you seriously thinking about relationships. You know, like how we connect in this crazy digital world and everything.
And all the stuff that comes along with it.
That's exactly what we're diving into today.
I love it. It's amazing how like these random online conversations can really like spark some serious thought, you know?
Oh, totally.
And the thing that we're looking at today is super interesting, right? It's not some fancy TED Talk or like a relationship guru or anything.
Yeah.
It's this YouTube video that's actually meant for people who are learning English.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah, just two people having a chat.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, they get into some really big topics.
Okay. Like what?
Well, like how social media is affecting our lives, the good and the bad. And they even talk about love versus arranged marriage.
Wow, that's a pretty wide range.
Right. It's pretty cool.
So this deep dive is like peeling back the layers on stuff we think we know.
Totally. And you know, finding these unexpected connections and insights along the way.
I'm excited. Before we get into it all, what got you hooked on this video? Like what stood out to you?
That's a great question. And it's something for everyone listening to think about too. As we go through this whole thing, what are you hoping to discover? You know, are you interested in the whole language learning angle or maybe the whole cultural differences when it comes to marriage?
Yeah.
Keep those questions in your mind as we break it all down.
Okay, so let's jump in. The speakers, right off the bat, they admit to spending way too much time on social media.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, who hasn't been there? You suddenly realize you've just lost like an hour on TikTok.
Or Instagram Reels.
Yes,
Cool.
exactly. They even talk about all the classic downsides,
Right.
like how it can tank your productivity.
For sure.
And you're just left with this nagging feeling like you're kind of addicted.
It's so true. And it's more than just a feeling, right? Like there's tons of research out there about the not so great effects of too much social media.
Oh yeah, like what?
Well, things like your attention span getting shorter,
Oh yeah.
not sleeping well, and it can even mess with your mental health.
Wow, so it's not just me feeling guilty then. It's like a real thing.
Definitely. Think about your own relationship with social media. Have you noticed any of those patterns, you know, in your own life?
Ugh, yes. 100%. It's like this double-edged sword, right? They talk about using social media for good stuff too, like following inspiring people and learning new things.
Right.
But finding that balance is tough.
It really is. It makes you wonder, is social media like inherently bad or is it more about how we use it? Like anything else, it can be used for good or for bad, right?
Yeah.
It's up to us to be smart about it.
Be mindful.
Exactly. And make sure we're using it in a way that like actually aligns with our own values and goals, you know?
Yeah, for sure. But it's so easy to get sucked in, you know? Like they share this story about a college student
Oh, yeah.
who got so consumed by social media, especially after like a rough breakup, that her grades totally plummeted.
Ouch.
Yeah, and that's like a pretty extreme example.
True.
But it makes you think, like, how often are we letting social media distract us from our goals or, you know, amplifying all those bad feelings when things go wrong?
It's almost like pouring gasoline on a fire.
Whoa, that's intense.
Right. Instead of dealing with what's really bothering us, we just dive headfirst into this digital world.
To distract ourselves.
Yeah, but it can actually end up making things worse.
It's so true.
Yeah.
So how much are we all sacrificing real life experiences and connections for all these quick digital interactions?
That's the question, isn't it? It's something to really think about. But hold on to that thought for a sec, because the speakers, they take a hard left turn in this conversation.
Oh, really? Where do they go?
From social media struggles, they jump right into talking about marriage.
Whoa, that's a big leap.
Right. It's like they hit the shuffle button on the conversation topics.
It's like 1 minute it's all doom scrolling and productivity tips.
Totally.
And then bam, they're debating whether love marriage or arranged marriage is better.
It's a wild ride, but I kind of love it.
Me too. It's so unexpected.
It shows that even in like casual conversation, totally different topics can like intertwine. And I think here, they both get at this basic human need to connect.
Right, yeah.
Whether it's through the internet or through these bigger social things like marriage.
Interesting. Okay, so let's talk marriage.
Let's do it.
They both take on these different sides, like they're playing devil's advocate.
I love that.
So Robin is all about love, marriage, right? Freedom of choice, and truly knowing your partner.
Makes sense.
And then you have Veronica, who makes a super strong case for arranged marriage.
Okay, what's her angle?
She's all about families knowing best and how compatibility can actually grow over time.
Interesting.
Instead of just relying on that initial spark.
Yeah. Makes you think.
It's fascinating how their points of view really reflect these different cultural values, right? Like where they come from and what their societies are like.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Like if you grew up in a culture where individual choice and romantic love are like super important, the whole idea of arranged marriage might seem totally strange, even wrong.
Yeah.
But it's super important to remember that neither side is automatically right or wrong.
Totally. They're just different approaches.
Right. Different ways of looking at this universal thing that is marriage.
Exactly. And as we dig into each side more, we've got to keep an open mind.
For sure.
Because both systems have their own logic and reasoning,
right.
Like they make sense in their own contexts.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's unpack the love marriage side first.
Okay.
They talk about the dangers of being blinded by love.
Oh yeah, like the honeymoon phase.
Totally. And how that can make you miss some serious red flags.
Getting so caught up in the romance that you ignore the warning signs that looking back are so obvious.
It happens to the best of us, right? It just shows how powerful emotions can be.
Especially at the beginning of a relationship.
Totally. You get so focused on the good stuff.
The butterflies.
Exactly, that you miss those things that might not work long term.
Or those red flags that could mean trouble down the road.
Exactly.
And they even share this other story about a young woman who was like totally heartbroken after a breakup.
Oh.
To the point where she just completely neglected her studies.
Really?
Yeah, and even thought about hurting herself.
That's really heavy.
It's a super intense example, but it does make you think.
Yeah.
How much can heartbreak affect our lives? And how can we deal with those really strong emotions in a healthy way?
Those are big questions for sure. And they highlight just how intense things can get with love marriage. When you invest so much of yourself into the relationship, the stakes feel really high.
Yeah, it's like putting all your eggs in one basket, hoping it won't shatter.
Exactly. And it makes me think about social media's role in all of this.
Okay, how so?
Well, think about it. Our online world is full of these seemingly perfect relationships, right?
Yeah.
So how does that affect how we see love and heartbreak? Does it make us more likely to have those extreme emotional ups and downs?
Whoa, I never thought about it like that.
Yeah.
But that's a great point. So now I'm curious, how does social media play into the arranged marriage side of things?
That's a good question. Let's explore that more as we dig into the specific arguments for and against arranged marriage.
Ooh, I'm intrigued.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it all connects.
This whole deep dive is making me see these links between social media, marriage, and our own experiences in a whole new light.
That's the beauty of it, right? Taking a step back from our everyday assumptions and looking at these complex topics with fresh eyes.
Totally. I'm ready for more.
Me too. Let's dive back in.
All right, welcome back to the deep dive. It's pretty amazing how this conversation between two English language learners has taken us on such a journey.
I know, right?
We've been thinking about social media, different cultures, and marriage. It's a lot to unpack.
It really is. It just goes to show you that these topics, like, they're universal,
Totally.
Whether you're online or offline, trying to figure out social media or your love life, these are things that matter to people everywhere.
So true.
Yeah.
So before we get back to the whole love marriage versus arranged marriage debate,
Okay.
I wanted to touch on something you said earlier.
Yeah.
About how social media can make the emotional roller coaster of relationships even crazier.
Oh, yeah. Especially when it comes to breakups and all that heartbreak stuff.
Right. It's like adding fuel to the fire.
It really is. It's something to be super aware of, especially if you're already feeling a bit vulnerable or insecure. Social media can create this, like, distorted reality,
In what way?
It's like everyone's showing off their highlight reel.
The perfect couple photos and all that.
Exactly. And when you're constantly bombarded with that, it's easy to start comparing yourself and feeling like you don't measure up.
It's so true.
Yeah.
It's like that saying, comparison is the thief of joy.
Yes. And I think that's so relevant now more than ever.
With everyone being online all the time.
Exactly. We're constantly exposed to these, like, carefully curated versions of other people's lives.
And it makes it so hard to appreciate our own lives.
For sure. It's important to remember that what we see on social media, it's not always the whole picture.
Like it's just a snapshot.
Right. People usually only show their best selves online.
They hide the not so perfect parts.
Exactly. They emphasize the good stuff in their relationships and kind of brush aside the challenges that everyone faces.
It's like we're comparing our behind the scenes to everyone else's perfectly edited movie.
That's a great way to put it. No wonder we end up feeling insecure and questioning our own experiences.
So what can we do about it? How do we use social media in a way that doesn't make us feel so bad?
That's the million-dollar question, right? And I think it comes down to being more mindful of what we're consuming online.
Like choosing what we see.
Exactly. We have so much control over our online experience. Instead of just scrolling mindlessly through stuff that makes us feel envious or bad about ourselves, we can be more intentional about what we're looking at.
So following accounts that inspire us, make us laugh, teach us something new.
Exactly. And also being aware of how much time we're spending on social media in general.
It's all about finding that balance.
It really is. It's about remembering that social media is just one part of our lives.
Right. It shouldn't take over everything.
And it definitely shouldn't overshadow those real-life connections and experiences that truly matter.
Couldn't agree more. But okay, let's circle back to the marriage conversation.
Sounds good.
Specifically, the whole love marriage versus arranged marriage thing.
Okay.
We left off with the speakers each taking a side.
Right. Robin was all about love marriage, and Ronica was advocating for arranged marriage.
It's interesting how their perspectives probably come from their own backgrounds and experiences, you know.
Oh, absolutely. It's a good reminder that there's no one right answer when it comes to something as big and complex as marriage.
It's not a one-size-fits-all kind of thing.
Nope. What might seem perfect in one culture could be totally different in another culture.
And even within the same system, there's a whole spectrum of experiences.
For sure, depending on personalities, family dynamics, societal norms, all of that.
So let's dig a little deeper into arranged marriage this time.
Okay.
We talked about some of the downsides of love marriage, like being blinded by passion and missing red flags.
Right.
But what about the challenges that can come up in arranged marriages?
Well, one big concern is compatibility, or the lack of it.
Meaning?
Even when families really try to choose partners who they think will get along, there's no guarantee that those two people will actually click on a deeper level.
That's a gamble.
It is. And if they don't click, it can lead to a lot of unhappiness and tension in the marriage.
Because you're basically committing to spending your life with someone you might barely know.
Exactly. It's a huge decision.
And that brings up the whole issue of individual choice, right? Like having a say in who you marry.
Definitely. In arranged marriages, families often have a lot of influence, if not all the control, over who their children marry.
It's like a family affair.
It can be. And while that might be seen as honoring tradition and seeking guidance from elders,
Yeah.
it can also feel very limiting for people who value their independence and want to choose their own partner.
It's like being told who to love.
In a way. And that can create a lot of conflict for people who are torn between what they want and what their family expects.
Totally. It's a tough situation. But I think it's worth pointing out that the whole idea of arranged marriage has changed over time.
How so?
Well, in some cultures, it's become more of a collaboration.
Oh, interesting.
Like people have more of a voice in the process and they get to know their potential partner before making a final decision.
So it's not as strict as it used to be.
Exactly. It shows that even long-standing traditions can adapt as society changes.
Right. They evolve to meet people's needs.
And even in arranged marriages where there's no initial spark, love and connection can still grow over time.
That's what the speakers in the video were saying.
Yeah.
They talked about compatibility being something you can build, not just something you find right away.
It's not always love at first sight.
Right. In arranged marriages, couples often go into it with the mindset of making it work.
They're committed.
Exactly. And that shared intention can create a really strong bond over time.
So maybe the love comes later?
Maybe so. And I think that shift in perspective can be helpful even for people who choose love marriage.
How so?
Because even in those relationships, staying happy and connected takes work and compromise.
It's not all sunshine and roses.
Definitely. It's not just about that initial excitement and romance. It's about building a real partnership based on respect, shared values, and understanding.
So, whether you meet someone on a dating app or your family introduces you.
The key takeaway seems to be that strong relationships take effort, communication, and a willingness to grow together.
Well said. And that brings us back to the other big topic we've been discussing, social media and its impact on all of this.
Oh yeah, good point. Because just like with marriage, how we use social media can have a big impact on our happiness, relationships, and even how we see ourselves.
It's about being mindful, right?
Exactly. Being aware of how social media makes us feel, setting boundaries, and making sure it's adding to our lives, not taking away from them.
If we're not careful, it can become this huge distraction.
Oh, totally. It can make us compare ourselves to others, feel like we're missing out, all that FOMO stuff.
And that can be really damaging, especially in relationships.
For sure. Imagine constantly comparing your partner to those perfect couples on Instagram, or feeling like you have to portray a certain image of your relationship online.
The pressure.
Right. It can create unrealistic expectations, make you feel insecure, and even lead to arguments.
It's so important to remember that what you see online is not always real.
Totally. But here's the thing. Social media can also be a great tool for connection, support, and personal growth.
Okay, so it's not all bad.
Not at all. It depends on how you use it. Like the people in the video said, you can choose to follow accounts that inspire you, teach you things, or connect you with people who share your interests.
You can learn new skills, share your passion.
Exactly. It's about being intentional and making conscious choices about how you spend your time online.
So here's a question for our listeners to think about.
Hit us with it.
When it comes to both social media and marriage, what are your values and goals? What kind of relationship do you want to have with these forces in your life?
That's a great question to reflect on as we move into the final part of our deep dive.
I'm excited to wrap it all up and see where we land.
Me too. These conversations can have a real impact on how we navigate our lives, both online and offline.
I'm ready for part 3.
Let's do it.
Welcome back for the final part of our deep dive. It's amazing how we started with this simple conversation between two English language learners and ended up here.
I know, right?
We've explored so much, from social media habits to different marriage systems. It's been quite a journey.
It really has. It shows how much we can learn just by observing and talking about everyday things.
Totally. And as we wrap up, I keep thinking about this one theme that's come up again and again.
Oh, what's that?
The idea of making mindful choices. It's been relevant to both social media and marriage, right?
Absolutely. Whether we're shaping our online world or navigating relationships, being intentional about our decisions is key.
It's so true. Think about it. Every time we scroll through our feeds or talk to our loved ones, we're making choices.
Yeah, like are we just feeding the algorithms or are we actually feeding our souls?
We're just reacting on autopilot or really thinking about our responses.
Well, those are great questions. It's like we're constantly at a crossroads, faced with all these different paths and outcomes.
And the path we choose shapes our experiences, both online and offline.
You know, even though the speakers in the video were just having a casual chat, it seemed like they were wrestling with this idea too.
Yeah, like they admitted to the downsides of too much social media and the potential for heartbreak in love marriages.
But they also saw the value in connecting with inspiring accounts and building compatibility over time.
It's like they recognized both the challenges and the opportunities.
Exactly. It's that constant push and pull between awareness and action, between seeing the pitfalls and choosing a different way.
So, as we leave our listeners with all these insights, I have one final question for them to ponder.
Ooh, I love a good thought-provoking question. What is it?
Imagine you could hit the reset button on both your social media feeds and your whole approach to relationships.
Okay, I'm imagining it.
What would you do differently?
What would you change?
What boundaries would you set to protect your time and energy? What kind of content would you focus on to feel good?
Yeah, and when it comes to relationships, how would you go about finding a partner or making your current connections stronger?
Would you look for shared values and goals? Would you prioritize open communication and being vulnerable with each other?
These are the kinds of questions that can help us create a more fulfilling experience both online and in our real-life relationships.
Because at the end of the day, we have the power to shape our own lives.
We don't have to be controlled by social media algorithms or what society tells us to do.
We can make choices that align with who we are and what we truly want.
That's what makes this whole deep dive so powerful.
It reminds us that we have agency, we have a voice, and we can make choices that lead to a more meaningful and authentic life.
So as we wrap things up, let's hold on to that feeling of empowerment.
Let's be mindful of the choices we make, big and small, knowing that they impact our well-being and our connections with others.
That's it for this deep dive. We hope you've enjoyed exploring these fascinating topics with us.
And remember, the conversation doesn't stop here.
Keep asking questions, keep reflecting, and keep making choices that bring you closer to the life you want.
Thanks for joining us, and we'll catch you next time.
See you later.